I was sitting on my tiny balcony with a cup of cheap instant coffee when the text came in. "Danielle, please. I'm outside." It was Claire, again. I knew something was wrong the second I opened the door. Her makeup was smudged, eyes red but dry, like she had practiced crying more than she actually cried. "My car died, Danielle," she started, already walking in like she owned the place. "I was on the way to meet a client. It just died. I don't know what to do." I wanted to believe she was telling the truth. But with Claire, it was never just one thing. There was always a trail of chaos behind her. I sighed, setting my coffee down. "Claire, how long has the check engine light been on?" She looked down. "A few months. Maybe longer." I already knew the answer. She'd bought that old Audi 12 years ago, refused to service it, and only kept it because it made her look successful. "I can help you find a cheap, reliable car," I offered. "Something under $5,000. I even know a mechanic who'll give us a deal." She blinked at me, offended. "Danielle, I'm not driving some Beta, I have a brand to maintain." I stared at her. "You don't even have a stable job, Claire." She snapped, "But I will. I'm close to landing something big. I just need to show up looking the part." Looking the part. That was her entire life. I had spent 6 years saving. No vacations. No online shopping sprees. Just side gigs, tech job overtime, and cutting every unnecessary expense. While people my age posted photos from Rome and Bali, I was clipping coupons and maxing out my Roth IRA. Why? Because I wanted one thing, a home of my own before I turned 30. Nothing fancy, just a small 2-bedroom fixer-upper in a quiet neighborhood. A place I could finally feel safe. No landlords. No random rent increases. Just mine. I had $55,000 saved. Every penny earned with sweat, sacrifice, and brutal discipline. The money sat in a high-yield savings account. The account had one co-signer, my mum. I had added her years ago when the bank needed someone, and I never removed her. That mistake nearly ruined everything. 3 days later, I logged into my account to check on a bank transfer, and froze. $49,000 was gone. My hands trembled. I refreshed the page. Again and again. Still gone. I called the bank. The funds were withdrawn by an authorized co-signer, they told me. My mother. I drove to my parents' house shaking. Claire sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Outside, in the driveway, a brand new luxury car gleamed under the sun. I didn't say a word at first. "You like it?" she asked, smug. "It was a limited deal. Couldn't miss it." "You used my house fund," I said quietly. Claire rolled her eyes. "I'll pay you back." I turned to my mum. "You signed off on this." "She needed help, Danielle," my mother said softly. "You're doing well. We thought you could start saving again." I stared at them like they were strangers. "I worked 6 years for that money," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "While you were covering up her mistakes, I was building something real." "But she's your sister," Dad added from across the room. "No," I replied. "She's your project. I'm done being the backup plan." They didn't know that I had built another account, quietly, in my own name. One they didn't have access to. I drained what little was left in the shared account. Then I reported the transaction and blocked my mother's access permanently. The bank launched an investigation. The car was eventually repossessed. As for me, I bought a cozy 1-bedroom condo, with my untouched, protected savings. When my parents called, begging me to undo it, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply said, "I warned you." Claire texted me weeks later. "You ruined everything." I stared at the screen and typed. "No, I protected what was mine." Because healing isn't always forgiveness. Sometimes, it's closing the door, and never looking back. If you've ever had to choose between family and your future, drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful real-life stories. She stood in front of her new car, striking a fake candid pose with the caption, "When hard work and faith align, dreams come true." #blessed #boss moves. Hard work. Faith. I stared at that post like it was a punch to the gut. The comments were full of fire emojis and empty praise. "You deserve this, girl." Inspo queen. Love to see women winning. No one knew the truth. She had drained 6 years of my sacrifice and called it her victory. I didn't comment. I didn't say a word online. But I did get to work offline. The investigation gained traction. The moment I submitted documentation showing the account was meant solely for my home purchase, and that my mother had no recent written authorization, the bank's legal team took things seriously. I got a call from the family's old attorney. He sounded cautious, almost embarrassed. Danielle, your parents want to resolve this quietly. I let out a small laugh. Now they want quiet. After their daughter committed fraud and they co-signed the plan. They didn't realize the backup account was still active, he said gently. I could almost hear my father's voice behind his. How was she allowed to do that? We didn't know she set that up. That was the point. They never thought I was paying attention. Never thought I'd protect myself, because I was the responsible one. I met with the attorney in person. I brought printouts, email threads, and the paperwork showing I'd tried for months to remove my mother from the account, but had been delayed by her always needing a few more days. Now that small delay worked in my favor. You do realize, I told the attorney calmly, that I could press criminal charges. He nodded. I know, but they're offering to settle. They're willing to sign over the vacation property in Savannah to cover the damages. I blinked. Savannah. The property they'd always told me wasn't worth anything. That they'd been thinking of selling for years but never did. I leaned back in my chair. Tell them I'll think about it. That night, I got a call from my dad. No pleasantries. Danielle, this is ridiculous. I stayed quiet. You can't punish the whole family over one mistake. One mistake, I said, stunned. Dad, she stole from me, and you helped her do it. She's your sister. I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. You raised her to believe she could take anything. And me to believe I had to survive everything. You always were the stronger one, he said softly. That sentence broke something in me. Because they used my strength like a weapon. Like a free bank. Like a guarantee that I'd clean up every mess. Not anymore. I'll take the Savannah house, I said. And I want a signed legal release that neither you nor Claire will ever touch my finances again. No co-signs. No loans. No second chances. He was silent. I'll draft it tomorrow, I added. And I did. They signed. I got the house. As for Claire, she posted less and less on Instagram. When the car company came calling for missed payments, her captions got more desperate, her tone more frantic. Then one day, her account disappeared. A friend sent me a message. Hey, what happened to Claire? I just replied. Nothing happened. She finally met her limits. And that was just the beginning of mine. I watched him through the hallway camera feed on my phone. There he was, my father. A man who once told me I was too practical to be passionate. Now sitting, alone in the lobby of my apartment building with a folded check in his hand, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. Danielle, he said into the intercom, I know you're upset, but this doesn't have to be permanent. I leaned toward the speaker and pressed the button. I agree. It doesn't have to be permanent. You all made that choice when you stole from me. He sighed. We didn't steal. Your mother had access, and you enabled Claire, I interrupted. Again, just like every other time she blew through rent, tuition, business loans, you keep calling it family support, but what you really mean is, take it from Danielle. There was a long silence. Then, I brought you a check. The full $55,000. Can we just talk? Like face to face. I already got the money back, I said flatly. And this isn't just about the money. You three took something that took me years to build. And you acted like it was your right. He shook his head, more to himself than to me. It was a mistake. We got carried away. Your sister thought. I don't care what she thought, I cut in. She doesn't think about anyone but herself. And now she gets to learn what consequences feel like. There was a knock at the main entrance. The building manager appeared behind my father, clearly uncomfortable. I heard him say, Sir, if she's asked you not to visit, I'll have to ask you to leave. I'm going, my father mumbled, standing up slowly. But just before he stepped out, he looked up toward the security camera above the door and said, You used to love us enough to forgive. I stared at the screen and whispered under my breath, and you used to love me enough not to use me. He left, and I finally breathed again. That night, I lay in bed, no TV, no music. Just me and the quiet. I had cut him off, truly and completely, for the first time in my life. There were no tears this time, no panic. Just a strange, still peace. And then, a new notification. Claire posted a 9-minute Instagram live. I didn't want to watch it. But I did. She cried on camera, mascara smeared, voice shaky. She's my sister, she said. And she turned everyone against me. She took my car, asterisk my future, like I'm nothing. And people are DMing me, saying I'm a thief. I'm not a thief. I just needed help. Her followers sent sympathy, some attacking me in the comments. No family should ever do that. You don't deserve this, girl. Jealousy is ugly. She was spinning the narrative. But I didn't respond. Not on social media. Not to anyone. Instead, I sent one final email, to the dealership, the bank, and the investigator attached to the fraud claim. I attached screenshots of her livestream where she admitted to using the money, acknowledged her relationship to me, and accused me of ruining her life. It was all the confirmation they needed to escalate the case into full recovery. They froze another small account in her name and sent notice of pending charges. I didn't celebrate. I didn't cheer. I just kept building. I used the money and added it to my down payment on a new property. One better than I thought I could afford. A little 3-bedroom townhouse. Roomy, bright, and all mine. For the first time, I didn't invite my parents to the walk-through. I didn't send pictures to anyone. The only one who came with me was my friend Shayla. As we walked through the living room, she looked around and said, "Danielle, it's perfect." I smiled. I know. In my name only, no co-signers, no loopholes. I hired a financial advisor. I got a real estate attorney. I moved smarter this time, with eyes wide open. While my parents were scrambling to recover their reputation, I was quietly preparing to move into my new home. A place built not just with money, but with years of grit. Quiet sacrifices, and nights crying into takeout containers while everyone else had help. Then, 1 week after I sent the email, I heard a knock at my new front door. Shayla was with me, helping me unpack. She looked toward the door and mouthed, "You expecting someone?" I shook my head, suddenly tense. I walked slowly to the door and looked through the peephole. It was Claire, hair slicked back, eyes red but dry, dressed in all black like she was attending a funeral, maybe her own. I opened the door halfway but kept the chain on. "What do you want?" I asked flatly. She looked up at me, her face drawn. "You ruined everything, Danielle." I stared at her. "You mean I stopped you from stealing everything?" She rolled her eyes. "You didn't have to go that far. Telling the whole family. Embarrassing us like that." "Funny," I said, "because none of you thought anything was too far when you emptied my house fund to buy you a photo op with leather seats." I was desperate. "No," I said. "You were entitled." Her jaw clenched. I added, "And you're still trying to play the victim." She looked over my shoulder, trying to peek inside the house. "So this is it. Your perfect little life now." I stepped forward just enough to block her view. "It's not perfect, but it's mine, and you don't get to be part of it." She let out a bitter laugh. "You're really going to throw away your family over money?" I leaned my head against the doorframe and looked her dead in the eye. "It's not about money, Claire. It's about respect. And until you figure that out, there's nothing left for us to talk about." I closed the door in her face. Shayla came around the corner holding a box labeled bathroom stuff. "Was that who I think it was?" I nodded, walking past her to the kitchen. She wanted closure. I gave her a door. I wake up with sunlight pouring through windows I chose. I drink coffee in a kitchen I paid for. And when I walk barefoot across the hardwood floors, there's no one behind me saying I should have done it their way, no one hinting that I owe them for it. It's peaceful. Not loud, not dramatic, just mine. Sometimes I think about the nights I stayed up budgeting, the times I skipped dinners out, passed on trips, worked 2 jobs. All for this. All for something no one else could give me. And you know what? It was worth it. Because freedom doesn't come from applause. It comes from knowing you made it, even when no one believed you could, especially the people who were supposed to. So no, I didn't go back. I didn't forgive for the sake of keeping peace. I created my own. And now, when people ask why I'm distant from my family, I tell them this. I gave them everything I had. And when I finally chose me, they called it betrayal. But that's the thing. Choosing yourself isn't betrayal. It's survival. And eventually, it becomes strength. Call to action. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever had to choose peace over family, or rebuild your life from scratch, drop a comment and let your voice be heard. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories just like this one. Your support helps us reach more people who need to know they're not alone.